Hello, today we're framing a 4x8 lean-to shed. This is by far the easiest shed to build. But before you start, let me just walk you through the biggest mistake you want to avoid when building this shed, and also some very handy tips if you're working by yourself. When framing a lean-to shed, I like to start by working on the wall that's against the house. And in this case, it's the 8-foot long wall. This wall will have studs 16 inches on center. Once you marked where the studs are going, it's time to lay them out. Which brings me to my first tip. Build yourself a temporary support to hold up the lumber as you build the wall. Try to build it as level as you can. But don't worry, it does not have to be perfect. This is just a temporary help. And now that you have a nice working platform, it's time to cut all the studs of the back wall to length. Then I screw in the studs to the bottom plate. I'm using 2.5-inch GRA screws. And for each stud, I use 2 screws. You can also do this with nails and a hammer or a nail gun if you have one. Then I go around and start to work on the top plate. I preset 2 screws in place, then I screw in the top plate to the studs. Unfortunately, it's very common to see warped lumber. If you come across any, try your best to untwist it before you set your screw. I prefer to drive one screw or nail on top of the stud going down the wall, and then come back and adjust the stud or untwist it if I have to, then drive my second screw. And then to complete the framing of the back wall, I install the double top plate. I drive a set of screw every 12 inches or so. I bring in 2 sheets of T111 siding. I line up the top of the siding to the top of the top plate. I drive one nail to hold it in place. Then I go around and I drive a second nail, making sure the siding is square to the frame. Then I overlay the second sheet of siding over the first and add a few more nails. With the siding secured and squared, all I had to do is nail every 12 inches on the vertical and every 8 inches on the horizontal top and bottom plate. And for this, I used 2.5-inch number 8 exterior galvanized siding nails. Then, using the same nails as we did for the siding, I'm going to install the 1x4 trims on both sides of the wall. Okay, and now we're doing things a little different. Usually you would frame the walls and lift them right up. But because this is a lean-to shed and after the wall is up, we will not have access to work on the wall, you want to go ahead at this point, caulk the trims, the nail heads, any untreated surface, and make sure you paint it. It's fine if you don't want to paint your shed. At least I recommend that you add the sealant on the trims and nail heads. That way your shed will last much longer. And one other thing, do not screw or nail or attach the shed to the house or any other structure. These are two different structures settling in different times. Most likely your shed over the years are gonna settle a bit and you need to re-level them. Now if that shed is attached to the house and it starts to settle, now you're putting pressure on the wall or whatever you attach the house to. So make sure never to attach a shed to another structure. Those are two different structures. Next, we are going to lift up the wall. But before we do, we add a couple 4-foot bracers to each side of the wall. The wall itself, it's a bit heavy. I recommend bringing in help at this point. Once the wall is set in place, drive a screw into the braces and continue to check the wall for level. It's okay if you don't get this 100% level the first time. You may have to remove the screw holding the braces and make adjustments. Make sure to drive at least one screw in each bay on the bottom plate. And then check for level one last time. Now, the two side walls are very easy. First, you cut the lumber to length, and then you lay them out on the floor of the shed. Then you drive two screws on each stud 16 inches on center. Then all you have to do is lift up the wall and attach it to the back wall and the floor. And make sure to check the level as you go along. And the same goes for the wall on the left side. This is such an easy build that outside of your basic hand tools such as your hammer, level, speed square, the only other two power tools I'm using are the drill and the circular saw. There's no need to go out and buy a nail gun or a table saw. If you have them, it does help, but there's no need to spend all that money up front. But what makes the build such an easy build, it's not just the tools, it's the plans that we have. And because of these plans, I know exactly the lumber I need to cut, the steps I need to take, so the build goes fluid. So if you want to grab yourself a set of plans or the free material list, check the description below or visit us at everydayshed.com. We have more additional information that will help you when it's your time to build your own shed. Then it's time to frame the front wall. The only difficult part here is that I don't have a clean level surface to build the wall. If you do, that is great. But if you like me working on uneven ground, you can use a small block on each end of the frame to keep the studs flushed with the wall. This wall will have a 5-foot door opening. So there's very little that goes into building this wall, making it very light. One person can easily take this wall and set it on the shed floor, then lift it up in place. And just like before, you attach the front wall to the side walls and then drive screws attaching it to the floor. And now that this is done, we need to install siding on the shed. If you want to check that out, there's a video for you right here. If you want to check out everything from beginning to end, the process of building a 4x8 lean-to shed, there's a video for you right here. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.